my honor and privilege today to tell you my dad's story. I have two sons, 19 and 21, who attended school here. And I'm very blessed that my parents are still alive today. My name is Kurt Leuchter. I was born in Vienna, Austria on February 6, 1929. On March 12, 1938, when I was only 9 years old, the Nazis marched into Austria and occupied the country. A few months later, they began the propaganda against the Jews. Most of the Jews tried to flee the country, but the borders were all closed. Some people managed to get out if they paid a high price. On the night of November 9th, the SS and the SA smashed all the Jewish store owners' windows. This was Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass. The next day, on November 10th, they arrested all Jewish men. On that day, I was in school in the morning, and around 9:30 a.m. I was told to go home. As I walked home, I passed a synagogue which was on fire. The SS were shooting inside and brought out all the men who were praying. They told them to take out the Torahs, which are Jewish Bibles, and dump them in the Danube River. As I reached our house, I saw my father lined up with 9 other Jewish men from the building. I started to cry and asked the SS men, "Where are you taking my father?" One of them yelled at me to go upstairs. I sat on the steps, crying as my dad was led away with the SS men. My mother was out shopping, and when she got home, I told her what had happened. My mom and I were frightened that the SS would come back, so we left and walked 3 blocks to go to my grandmother's house. As we were walking, 2 6-foot-tall SS came toward us and grabbed my mom by the hair and threw her down onto the street. The second grabbed me by the hair and did the same thing. A lady walked by and tried to help my mom, but one of the SS told her, "If you help this woman, you are going to end up in Dachau concentration camp." For 10 days, we did not know what happened to my dad. One evening, around 7 p.m., the doorbell rang, and everyone was afraid to open the door because we thought it was the Gestapo, secret state police. But my aunt was courageous enough to go to the door and look through the peephole. She saw a man with a big beard and all dirty, so she opened the door, and to our surprise, it was my father. He told us that he was in an armory, and everyone from there was sent to Dachau in Germany. My dad and another man were told by the SS to give them their wedding rings. My dad couldn't get it off his finger, so the SS man told him, "We will cut off your finger, then we'll get it off." But my dad used some spit and finally removed it. Then my dad and the other man were told to clean up the whole armory. When they were finished, both men were told they must leave the country with their families within the next 3 months. My father managed to get a phony visa from Genoa, Italy, to go to Antwerp, Belgium. We had to leave all of our material possessions from our home for the Nazis and just save our lives. In February of 1939, we left by train to Cologne, Germany, to take a plane for Brussels, Belgium. At the airport in Cologne, we were strip-searched and could only take our personal belongings with us. Some other people were wearing jewelry and it was confiscated, but my parents hid a bit of jewelry either in their suitcase or in their clothes. The flight was only 1 hour. My parents told me in advance to keep my mouth shut. The Belgian police checked the passports and kept looking at the documents, and us, but finally they admitted us. They never noticed that it was a phony visa. Now we were free again. We took the train from Brussels to Antwerp, which only took about 45 minutes. As we arrived in Antwerp, we had to go to the Jewish agency to help us get a place to stay. We found a house where someone was renting out the attic. My father registered me in school, which was about a 20-minute walk from where we stayed. In school, I had to learn Flemish and French, which wasn't too hard for me. On May 10th, 1940, the Germans attacked Belgium by air bombardments, and within 2 days, the Germans were everywhere. On the next day, all foreign men had to report to City Hall, including my father. After that, we did not know what happened to him. My mom and I moved in with my aunt and cousin. In July 1940, my mom and I were deported to a town in Belgium called Limburg. We were told to stay there in a detention center which had straw sacks for beds and had no idea where we would be going next. In the meantime, my aunt heard from some source that my dad and my uncle were in France near Spain. My aunt then decided to go to the Gestapo headquarters in Antwerp. Since my aunt didn't look Jewish, she figured she might get away with it. She asked the Gestapo for a permit for the four of us to go to Paris, and they gave it to her, since the Germans were already in Paris at that time. My aunt notified us we had permission from the Gestapo to leave the detention center and go back to Antwerp in order to leave together with my aunt and cousin for Paris. We took the little belongings we had